This episode of That's What G Said is brought to you by Stable Duel. If you don't know what Stable Duel is right now, you got to stop and take a look at StableDuel.com right now. You can download the app on iOS or Android devices. If you're going to be playing the races on Breeders' Cup weekend, you have to get involved in Stable Duel's contests. They are free to enter. It is fantasy horse racing. It's daily fantasy for horse racing, completely free to enter. On the Breeders' Cup Friday, there's going to be a $5,000 prize pool. Breeders' Cup Saturday, $15,000 prize pool. It's going to be back-to-back at the Breeders' Cup contest for Stable Duel. Check it out right now. If you have any questions at all, just let me know and I can talk you through it. And you're going to be playing against me in these contests. We're going to be battling it out. You're going to look for the stable name. That's What G Said. And that's going to be me hopefully skyrocketing up the ranks. So make sure to take a look at Stable Duel. On this episode of That's What G Said, we're going to talk some World Series, first two games of the World Series in the books with the Nationals and the Astros. NBA, the season is underway. We'll recap the first couple nights of games, and then we'll go through every team. We'll give you some thoughts on how they will perform this year, positives, negatives, what some of the new moves. We'll also break down the movie, if you didn't watch it, El Camino. If you're a Breaking Bad fan, this is what they're calling the epilogue movie on Netflix. It basically picks up right after Breaking Bad, and it deals with the character Jesse Pinkman and what happens to him immediately following. And then we'll close things out with a couple Keeneland horse racing plays for Thursday. Don't go anywhere, folks. We got a long action-packed show for you ahead. Hey guys, thanks for tuning in to another episode of That's What G Said podcast. Lots of stuff going on right now. So busy, and I'm getting ready, folks, because we are just a couple weeks away from my girlfriend Stephanie's due date. She is due with our little boy on November the 4th, so getting everything set up, going through all the kid stuff now, starting to set up the area, and really looking forward to the next couple weeks. It's going to be exciting. And we finished all of our classes now, so we've been through the child care classes and the hospital classes, and so now we're at the point where we just have doctor's appointments on every Monday to check up, make sure she's okay. And we're about the hospital in Long Beach is where we'll be going. We're about 10 minutes away from that hospital, so we're close. We're nice and close. We don't have to be far, so really excited. Be ready, folks. At any moment, you'll see a social media post. Could be any time in the next few weeks now with a new little guy coming into the world, new little Bacola. So keep us in your thoughts and prayers. I just want Stephanie and baby to come out healthy, and that's the only thing I'm worried about. So I want everybody to come out healthy, and I'll be a very, very happy daddy. World Series, and it's unbelievable the run that the Washington Nationals are on right now. They are. I was going to wait till the end of the game. They're up right now in the bottom of the eighth inning. The bottom of the eighth inning in Game 2 of the World Series. They're up 11-2 on the road at Houston. They're about to go up 2-0, and in Game 1, they beat Cole. He gave up 5 earned runs, 5 hits, and he had a 2-run lead. Houston scored 2 runs in the first off Scherzer. They got up 2-0 right off the bat. Washington comes back, though. They score 1 in the second, 1 in the fourth, and then 3 in the fifth. They won that game 5-4. Their bullpen was really good. They got Corbin to come in for an inning, And then basically they've only been using Rainey, Hudson, and Doolittle. And that's all they used again. And they got to Rainey. So keep in mind that the Washington Nationals were down in the wild card game in order to have to get into the playoffs. They were down with Josh Hader coming in the 8th inning. They came back and won that game. They were down 2-1 in a best-of-5 series to the Dodgers, who were the best team in the National League, who had won the most games in the National League throughout the year, who set all sorts of records. They came back and beat the Dodgers in multiple games, and in Game 5, Washington was down 3-1 against the Dodgers. They won that game. Since winning, they won Game 4 against the Dodgers, Game 5 against the Dodgers. They have swept the St. Louis Cardinals 4 in a row, so that's 6 consecutive wins, and then 2 more wins right now, it looks like. They won Game 1 against the Astros, and they are up 11-2 in Game 2. So this is what the Washington Nationals just did. They won 2 games on the road against Houston, and in those 2 games, they beat Cole and Verlander. Verlander gave up 7 hits, 4 earned runs. Now this is where I have a tough time. Like, Verlander's awesome. Cole is awesome. They had a bad game. Are we going to say they're not clutch because they had a bad game in the World Series, even though they are the reason why one of the reasons why this Astros team is here? They helped carry them all the way through? No. What if Cole comes back and has another bad game in this series? Are we going to say he's not clutch, he chokes? That's why pitching in the playoffs or just playoff numbers are really tough, because it's such a small sample size for a game that is based on such a large sample size. This Washington Nationals team is going up 2-0 now on the road. Unless the Houston Astros can come back and score 9 runs in the bottom of the 9th. Sometimes it's just your year. You have some of those numbers like that one. The Astros were 28-0 when they scored more than 1 run in the first inning. And then last night they did and they lost. So that was the first time this year where they scored multiple runs in the first inning. Unbelievable run that the Washington Nationals are on right now. And congratulations to them. I mean, I'm not counting this Astros team out ever, but you go up 2-0 on the road with the kind of run that the Nationals have been on, with the kind of pitching staff that they have, with the production they've been getting from Soto and from Rendon, who actually has struggled a little bit to start this series, but he helped carry them there. It might just be the year for the Washington Nationals. Before we get into the NBA talk, I want to let you know about a DFS app for prop bets. It's called Thrive Fantasy, and I have teamed up with Thrive Fantasy. So right now, I'm offering you a nice little bonus if you go download and make a deposit. And you only have to deposit $10. Go right now, sign up, and it'll ask you to enter a promo code. Enter the promo code GINO, G-I-N-O, and then deposit $10. If you deposit 10 or over, you'll get a $10 bonus right back. And then you can mess around. It's basically like a DFS, how most DFS, you see DraftKings or FanDuel or, you see Stable Duel, we'll talk about a little later. They have a salary cap base. Well, this is a little bit different. You are picking 10 of their prop bets. So they have a prop, you pick, over or under or what side of the prop that you like. And each side is assigned a certain amount of points. So you go through, you figure out which sides of which props will give you the opportunity to get the most points. You try to select them all the way through. You pick a couple in case of emergency picks, in case some of your players don't get in, have some kind of an injury or an issue. It's a lot of fun, and right now, give it a try because you can get a $10 bonus credit just by using that promo code GINO. NBA. God, I love basketball. I'm so happy that basketball is back. Huge NBA fan. And we got a great opening night to the NBA with the first off Pelicans Raptors. And we got the Raptors championship ceremony, which was so weird, right? When they're getting their championship rings and their ceremony and Kawhi's not there, who's like the main part of that championship. And then for someone like me, who's a Laker fan, it's the Pelicans in the opener where somebody said it on Twitter best, where it's like the Laker fans right now getting to see their ex-girlfriend and then their current girlfriend, right back to back, because you get the Pelicans game where I love Lonzo, I love Ingram, I love Josh Hart. When a lot of times when you have rookies on your team and you see these kids get drafted and then you follow through their development, you like them a lot, you know them very well, you feel super invested. I saw a lot of them play in the summer league games in Vegas, so I'm always rooting for Lonzo and for Josh Hart and for Ingram to do really well. And it was a good game with the Raptors, the Pelicans. The Raptors won 130-122, and we will see how good Pascal Siakam can be. He got the big extension. We saw a lot of people get paid over the weekend too. Jaylen Brown got a nice contract. Buddy Hield, another one. Some of these players that are due for extension soon got their extensions coming up. So they're paid already. No issues about their future. Siakam had 34 points, 18 rebounds, and 5 assists, and he's hoping to just step right into that Kawhi Leonard role, especially when you get someone like OG Anunoby back, who could kind of be like last year's Siakam. Anunoby was so good last year before he got hurt, and he's one of those similar kind of like do-it-all type. He had 11 points and 7 rebounds and a couple blocks. And Van Fleet, I mean, what else can you say about Van Fleet, who was 12 for 18? He had 5 threes, and he had 34 points. I think this Raptors team, honestly, is going to be very solid. It's a weak East this year. And their over-under is 46. I mean, they have a very good chance to be one of the top 4 teams in the East, even after losing Kawhi and Danny Green. They still have a good team. I mean, Marc Gasol had a really bad game, but you can run the offense through him and Kyle Lowry. They're not tip-top superstars anymore, but they're they're very, very solid players still. And then Siakam is a budding superstar. And, they have about 7-8 deep with just solid rotation players and players who have experience. They were there last year. You'll hear me say this a lot throughout this podcast. The East is not good. Pelicans, such a bummer with Zion. Unfortunately, we know Zion got injured and he had to have surgery, and he's going to be out 6 to 8 weeks at least. And that's just, when Zion got drafted number one overall and like all through college and his 1 year of college, all through college, I didn't think he was going to be as good as everybody else did. And even it was just preseason, he immediately showed that he was going to be able to be a force. And I hope the injuries aren't a part of his career. We've seen injuries just decimate careers of some really great players throughout time. And I hope we get to see Zion back in full force not too long. Because this New Orleans Pelican team was such a fun team that everybody was talking about. There was so much buzz about them as, man, they have a lot of young talent now. Is this a team that could maybe sneak in and like battle for a back end of the playoffs? And, with Ingram and Lonzo and Holiday, they got Redick. But now taking Zion out of the mix is really going to hurt them. I like this team, though. They're fun to watch. And notice now that the former Lakers that are not on the Lakers anymore, now everyone starts talking about, oh, Brandon Ingram's pretty good. Lonzo's not bad. Oh, he's better than I thought. It's like, oh, yeah. These players were good last year, too. They're getting better. They're improving. Everybody just loves to hate on the Lakers more than anything, which is a great transition as we go in, because the Lakers got beat opening night. What a fun game this was, right? Oh my God, the intensity in this game. This was like a playoff game in night 1, Lakers-Clippers. And the Lakers came out early and they took the first swing and they punched hard. They got up to a huge lead right off the bat. And Davis and LeBron came out firing. And then I think what happened is everybody's trying to talk about that they weren't really pumped up for this game. Both teams were so fired up. The crowd was fired up. And I think that ended up hurting both teams in certain spots throughout the game. And in particular, I think the Lakers a little bit more because they're a little more top heavy than the Clippers. In particular, when the Lakers are missing Kuzma, Rondo, and Caruso, who are players that'll help fill out the bench. And then the Clippers are missing Paul George, who will obviously make them a lot better. a lot better, and he'll help them fill out their team even more. And I'm kind of curious to see how they'll all fit. I'm sure that when Paul George comes back, he'll have like a week or two of adjustment and just kind of figuring out how he and Kawhi will play. And then when Lou Williams comes in, how they'll all work. But I mean, if the Clippers can close games in when George is healthy again, if they can close games with Montrez, Kawhi, Paul George, Lou Williams, and like Shamet, that might be a tough lineup. Or maybe Pat Beverly. I mean, although it's like you get a lot more offense from Shamet there, and obviously you get a lot more defense. But like they have some options. You get Harkless, Harkless played very well last night defensively. He was excellent. And I'm as a Laker fan, I am not disappointed in one sense by this game. This was a great game. And what I liked is, so the Clippers punched back hard in the second quarter. They scored 40 points in the second quarter, and Kawhi was just incredible. And, when you look at the shot chart for some of Kawhi's shot makes, he had 20 points in the first half, and he just dominated that second quarter. He made some really tough shots where KCP is not good, and he did not play well last night. And Kawhi can get a shot over KCP probably at any point. But KCP was actually playing some good defense on some of those shots, and Kawhi just was better offense. He was great. This is what happens in the NBA. Some nights when the better team stars show up, that's generally who wins. And last night, Davis and LeBron showed up early. Then it felt like it was a combination of Doc Rivers making some really good adjustments, great coach, and Frank Vogel not making really good adjustments and not figuring out his rotation yet. Couple, as we mentioned, I don't think missing Paul George didn't feel like it really hurt the Clippers a whole lot last night because they have a team that, besides Kawhi, was pretty familiar with each other for the most part. There's not a whole lot of new pieces. Now, the Lakers have a lot of new pieces, so they're very talented. It'll probably take a little while for them to gel. I don't even think it'll take that long for them to gel. These were just two really good teams going at it. I mean, you look at the final score and the Clippers win this game by 12. They deserve to win. They out-hustled the Lakers in this game. And when you look at Anthony Davis and LeBron's stat lines, when Davis shoots 8 for 21 and LeBron shoots 7 for 19, the Lakers aren't going to win very many games. Even when Danny Green goes off and has a great game. 10 for 14. Danny Green, he really kept the Lakers in this game. And that's, I'm thinking, and, Avery Bradley played pretty well. He got into some foul trouble early on, and that, I think, hurt some of his minutes. But I think the Lakers have a couple of these veterans that people weren't giving them enough credit for. I think there's a little more depth to the Lakers when they're whole. They're not deep enough to be missing Kuzma, who's, one of their top 4 players, right? He's going to be a guy that's going to get you 15 to 20 off the bench. So that's really where they were hurting, because when the Clippers brought in their bench, which is one of the best benches in the league, you are going to have to be a team that's going to have to be at full strength to compete. And the Clippers weren't at full strength at all. They're missing Paul George. But again, I think when he comes in, it's not going to be a negative for them in the long run, but it's going to take a little while, I think, to mix in someone like Paul George with Kawhi, because then you're putting 2 high usage players in the mix. It felt like Davis and LeBron both got a little tired late. And I think some of it had to do with LeBron. He had to handle the ball a lot. And we talk about, is LeBron going to play point guard this year, and how is he going to play, like what position wise? But what hurt was, and I'm not saying that these are 2 players that are the best players in the league, but we're talking backup guards, and they didn't have Caruso and they didn't have Rondo. And I do not like Rondo. I'm not a big fan of his, and I don't want either one of them to play 25 or 30 minutes. Maybe Caruso, if he's able to play well. He played awful in the preseason, though. And we don't know if Caruso can play in big games yet. All the Caruso we've seen has been in garbage games for the Lakers, to be honest. So I'm not expecting a lot out of Rondo or even Caruso, but just 10 minutes to give LeBron a little bit of a breather as far as bringing the ball up the court, and just an Kuzma in there just as another guy who can he can create his own shot. right? He's not necessarily a playmaker. He's gotten a little bit better at that. And to be honest, we don't think about Kuzma when it comes to defense, but if you look up his numbers defensively, he's actually very competent when it comes to guarding wings. He's not good when it comes to guarding bigs because he's not really big, but he's actually deceivingly quick. So he can move his feet and stay in front of players. I'm not saying he was going to shut down Kawhi. Danny Green played Kawhi very, very well. If you look at all the numbers last night, Kawhi struggled against Danny Green and then was excellent when he was against KCP and others. Fun game, fun atmosphere. If you're a Clipper fan, you should be super pumped. You're going to have a great team. And you're going to get Paul George back. And I think if you're a Laker fan, you should be super pumped because you're going to have a great team. You have a couple players coming back. And I think both of these teams are probably still going to get a veteran somewhere in the buyout market. We were able to see that these teams both do have some weaknesses, though. Whereas the Lakers are probably like a player and a half away. What I mean by that is I think the Lakers probably need another wing to help them defend in particular, and I think they need another ball handler. But between Caruso and Rondo, they might be able to get that half. So that's what I mean by 1.5. I don't know if the wing player is there, and that's why we keep hearing about Iguodala or, I feel like both of these teams are going to be high targets for veterans who are on bad teams who want to go try to play for a contender and who get bought out early. We saw the Lakers tackle this last year with Tyson Chandler, who actually helped them win a couple games early on in the year. So, these two teams are going to be fun. They're going to be good. I cannot wait for the rest of the season, and I hope we get a series, a Clippers-Lakers series. That would just be so fun if they were healthy. The atmosphere in Staples Center was incredible. It was all Laker fans, really, like Laker noise really at the beginning, cheering, yelling, screaming, booing at Kawhi. And then at the end of the game, when the Clippers played well, it was definitely the Clipper fan. There were Clipper fans and Clipper cheers and Clipper chants more than you have ever heard before. And this will be fun. It really will. And I'm just as confident as a Laker fan in that they will have a very good year, and they, if healthy, will be there at the end after last night's game, because it just felt like punch, punch, punch. And the game was tied to start the fourth quarter, and then there were 3 consecutive possessions for the Lakers where it was turnover, LeBron with a terrible missed layup, and then a turnover. And the Clippers scored on those 3 possessions, and it went from a tie game to the Clippers up 7 in the fourth quarter, and that was basically the game. The Clippers were able to kind of just keep the margin, with, in between 5 to 10 for most of the rest of the game. And that just did not feel like an opening game. I loved it. Obviously, I loved the game, didn't love the result as a Laker fan, but I was not too upset with what happened. LeBron said after the game, he's like, man, I was a little tired. I haven't played a game in this intensity for a while. Remember, no playoffs. Towards the end of last year, the only games that LeBron was playing in, they didn't matter. The Lakers were already out of it after his injury. So, yeah, I think he was winded. I think they came out so high. The Clippers, for sure, they were pumped. They wanted to win this game. You could tell Doc was coaching. They were like this was a playoff game. LeBron played 36 minutes. Anthony Davis played 37 minutes. And then the Clippers had, Kawhi played 32. Bev played 31. Trez played 38. And Lou Williams played 37. So they were early on already like playing this game to win. Can't wait till these two teams hook up again. I would say, just from a pure wagering standpoint, keep an eye on the next 2 times these teams play. The Lakers play on Friday at against Utah, and the Clippers play on Thursday against Golden State. I feel like because they both came out so high on that opening night, and they both really wanted to get the win, might be a tough game for both. Just come out a little bit flat after they both wanted to win this game quite a bit. Just emotionally, after everything that happened throughout the offseason with Kawhi spurning the Lakers and going to the Clippers, and now the battle over LA, and Jerry West is in the mix and this and that. They both these teams wanted this game bad. And I think they both might come out a little bit flat. Like, I wouldn't be shocked to see the Warriors beat the Clippers and then the Jazz beat the Lakers. And then I think for the Lakers, things are going to get very, I don't want to say easy, but their schedule is a lot more favorable. You can lose to any team in the NBA at any time, but the Lakers will, after the Jazz, they play the Jazz at home on Friday, and then you have like a 15 to 20 game stretch where it should be it's still going to be a learning process for the Lakers, trying to figure each other out, which to me, it's which rotation, right? Like last night, you can't have KCP playing 27 minutes and going 0 for 3. And he unfortunately wasn't like playing incredible defense on Kawhi, because Kawhi, he was trying. I'll really give him that. He was trying, but he just has become a player that is so bad at any time they've needed him over the last few years. And so the fan base is really has completely kind of given up on KCP. Okay, so the schedule for the Lakers: Utah Friday, then they play Charlotte on Sunday, who might be the worst team in the league. Memphis, at Dallas, at San Antonio, at Chicago. So you have 3 games on the road, but Dallas should be okay. San Antonio should be okay. Chicago, I think, will be improved a little bit this year. And then Miami, Toronto, at Phoenix, Golden State, Sacramento, Atlanta, OKC, at OKC, Memphis, San Antonio, New Orleans, Washington, Dallas. Like, you're talking about, after Utah, you're going to go on like a 15-game stretch basically until the start of December, where you're not playing any teams that are supposed to be the top teams in the league. So you really like have to even if you lose to Utah, you really have to bounce back in like Charlotte, Memphis, Dallas, San Antonio, Chicago, Miami. Those are all games that the Lakers really should be able to, like, they should be competitive. They should not, they don't have a lot of tough games coming up early on that schedule. So, that's what's tough is when you watch LeBron teams, they generally don't start fast because it starts a little slow. It's a feeling out process. I feel like it'll be a little bit different this year. So, yeah, Lakers, Clippers, be excited. It's going to be a lot of fun this year. And for the Lakers in particular, it's going to be a lot different than it was the last few years. And for the Clippers, this is going to be a lot different than it's ever been for you. Because this is the first time, in my opinion, really, that the Clippers legitimately have a chance to win an NBA title. And they deserve to be on the short list of contenders. Not some weaknesses, right? I'm not going to act like they're a complete whole team. I think for them, their weakness is they might, and when Paul George comes back, we'll see. They might need a little bit more scoring, especially in games where I'm not sure how the rotation is going to work with getting Lou Williams in the game, because if Lou is in, is he running the point? Is he handling the ball, or is he more off the ball? Which is fine, but if he's up in the corner, as just a 3 guy, you're kind of limiting what he does, and then you can kind of attack him defensively. But, then maybe they make up for that in other ways defensively because they're such a well-balanced defensive team. I think their main weakness is just a big. I think they need another big. Because if the Lakers they were very well coached, and they just completely shut out any opportunity of the Lakers like running pick and roll, which the Lakers really succeeded on, and we will expect to see them succeed throughout the year with Davis and LeBron. I say the Clippers need another big. Okay, let's quickly rattle through the rest of the league, and we'll talk about some of the players on each team. For the Hawks, they are projected, they're over-unders somewhere between 33.5, 34. On the projections I look, that's their total, their win total if you wanted to bet it, around there. And for the projections that I looked at, they had them around 30. They're kind of a young, like hot, buzzy team this year because they were good at the end of the year. They were very competitive. Trae Young had an excellent second half of the season. Collins is really, really good. If you don't know John Collins, he is just a young big who is blossoming. He had a 63% true shooting mark last year, and he hit 70% of his shots at the rim, and he showed the ability to stroke the three a little bit too. Now, if he takes another step forward, you add him with Young and with Herter, who's a great shooter. They got Hunter earlier this year. That's a solid core of a young four. What I worry about with them is they also add Cam Reddish in the mix too, They have some veterans there who I worry about a little bit from like the veteran usage and from how they'll mesh. And that's like Jabari Parker and Evan Turner and Alan Crabb. I like Vince Carter on their squad, but those three veterans, I'm not sure how they'll mix match with the youngsters. They're a fun team to watch though. And, if they're at 33, 30, like that just feels like pretty spot on. That I only would lean towards 4 or 5 different of the over unders, but Hawks should have some fun this year. Things are looking up for them. The Celtics, we're gonna go alphabetical order for the rest of the way through. The Celtics will probably be like a middle tier team in a really weak East. I think they're like a 4 or 5. I wouldn't be shocked if they got as high as the 3 seed, but I don't think they're going to be better than Milwaukee or Philadelphia. And, they lost Kyrie. I think their big loss that, even more than Kyrie is the one that gets talked about is Horford, who helps them so much defensively and is just such a good, like, veteran leader who can stretch the floor, play great D, shoot the 3. So it'll be, for Boston, all about the young guys. Can Tatum take the next step? Can Brown take the next step? And then can Hayward get back to his all-star level, with a little more time now after the injury? Kemba will be Kemba. This just doesn't look like a championship roster to me. They look like a 4 seed in the East. Maybe they win a playoff series. I don't think they're better than Milwaukee or Philly, and they're a move or two away. And they just paid Jaylen Brown. I don't really like Cantor at center. I think they're going to have a lot of weird, kind of funky lineups where they're playing very, very small, and they could get picked on by a team like Philadelphia in particular. A lot of these teams, as I'm recording this, are like literally playing right now or playing later tonight. So I'm not going to talk a whole lot about the Wednesday night of the NBA, but we'll, every show we'll kind of catch up with what's happened the next couple days, and maybe we'll preview some games moving forward. The Brooklyn Nets, a lot of hype about this team because Durant's there, but remember, Durant will probably not play all year long. Kyrie is going to be teamed up with a good young nucleus. LeVert, people like quite a bit. I think Joe Harris has become a little bit overrated, but he's solid. Dinwiddie's good. I like Prince also. Allen is good, but is Allen going to be compromised by DeAndre Jordan there? Who, DeAndre Jordan's like a name now, and I don't know how impactful he is if he's getting meaningful minutes on the court. Nets, maybe like a bottom playoff team. I mean, they'll probably be pretty close to Boston without Durant. So I wouldn't be shocked to see like Brooklyn and Boston like right next to each other as far as their where they stand. Maybe Boston a couple games ahead of Brooklyn. Brooklyn's over under for wins is like 43 and a half, 44 and a half. I'm seeing some spots, and on the projections I looked at, they have them getting to either 41 and 43. So I looked at a couple different projection sites. The Hornets, I think, might be the worst team in the league. They, in a really crazy stat, they lost their only 2 double-digit shot attempters, and 4 of their projected starters posted 4 of the 55 lowest usage rates among players who logged at least 20 minutes a game last year. They're just bad. I mean, you go through their roster, it is not good. They lost Kemba, and they basically filled in with Terry Rozier. They need Monk to take another step forward, Bridges, PJ Washington. This is just not a good NBA roster top to bottom. Nick Batum apparently is hurt now. One of the worst teams in the league. I think this team is going to be really, really bad. Sorry, Charlotte. I like the Bulls a little bit this year. Their projected win, I would go over in their projected win totals, 33 and a half, 30. I'm seeing 32. And if you can get 32 and a half for sure, I'd go over on that one. I like Markkanen. I like Levine Otto Porter Jr., Satoransky, Thad Young, a couple of nice veterans that aren't like... The difference between, I think, some of these veterans and maybe the veterans on Atlanta are the Atlanta veterans are a little bit more of like want the ball, dominate the ball. And these like Otto Porter will slide in nicely, do whatever you need. Satoransky, same type of thing. Thad Young, he'll score 20 for you one night, but then he'll go 3 games and he'll take 2 shots each game. So I like the way this team is built. I think they could sneak into the bottom of the playoffs. I think they'll be competitive in what is a weak Eastern Conference, the Bulls. Yeah, the Cavs are going to be really bad. Their over-unders are 24 and a half. The projections I see were like 23 and then 26. The worry I have with the Cavs is I don't know if they have enough playmakers. They have good guards, but they're very me-first guards and me-first like dominant players in Sexton and Garland. Even Clarkson's that way, who kind of comes off the bench. If Kevin Love, plays well and plays to the old Kevin Love that we know, that helps his team quite a bit. But I still think this is a really young roster. I think Kevin Love is probably, someone that you look to trade at some point through this year and just continue on the rebuild with this young group of Cedi Osman. Another group with a couple of my former Lakes, Clarkson and Nance, who are fine bench players. KPJ, Kevin Porter Jr., rookie out of USC. I think, he's young. He's very raw. He's a very high ceiling, low floor type player who just going to be real inconsistent, at least for a year or two. Dallas Mavericks are projected to be right around 500. I think their win total, their over-under was like 40 and a half, 41 I saw. Their projections on a 538 were actually really high. They were 50. The other couple sites I looked at were like 44 and then I think 42. So the 538 had them really high. It'll all be, Doncic and Porzingis. And I think with a healthy Porzingis, yeah, this team could be a playoff team. They'd have a nice 1-2 punch. Tim Hardaway Jr. gives them a little bit of scoring. I like Seth Curry. He's a good shooter, can help stretch. I don't know if they're going to be deep enough in a pretty, strong West. But they need huge years from Doncic taking the next step, which I think he can do. He's unbelievable. And then Porzingis, that's why this team is tough to gauge because a lot will be based on, can he stay healthy? Like so many of these teams, the Lakers and Clippers we look at, right? When we talked at the beginning, if LeBron or Anthony Davis gets hurt, they're in trouble. But if you look over on the Clippers side, like they're playing without Paul George and they played very well last night. But do I think that, and I'm sure if you're a Clipper fan, you'd probably say the same. They're an NBA championship team with Paul George and Kawhi Leonard. I don't know if they are without one of the two. Right? And that's how, every team's that way. Most teams are not going to win the championship or be good enough to compete at the top level without their stars. I'm a little down on the Nuggets this year. I would play their under. They're 52 and a half, 53 and a half some places. To me, that's a little high. I thought things broke really well for them last year. I like Jokic quite a bit. He did look a little pudgy in that picture that was floating around the preseason. It's the same team that's coming back from last year, and they have Michael Porter Jr., but he feels like he's, I think, going to be really, really needing some playing time to get back into a groove. And I don't trust Murray enough to be like the other guy here. I feel like this team is still a player away. Millsap's getting a little bit older. He's fine. Grant is a good addition. That should help. I don't think they're going to be a bad team. I think they'll be a playoff team, but I think they'll be on the bottom half of I see a lot of people that are picking them to be like a 1 seed or a 2 seed. I think they'll be more like a 5 through 8 seed. I don't think they'll be bad. I'm worried with Jokic a little bit. He had a long season into the playoffs last year, and then he played international, and now he's come back, and he has to carry their team. We talk about teams that would be in trouble with one of their stars getting injured. They'd be in some serious trouble without Jokic. He runs the offense for them, and really everything goes through him. he's incredible, and he had an unbelievable playoff series. I feel like defensively you can still pick on him, but yeah, I'm just not as high, I guess, as some others on Denver. Detroit, we'll see how long Blake Griffin's going to be out, at least for like a week or two, it looks like. They're a team that is projected to be under 500, but is like probably still right in the mix for a bottom playoff spot. I just wonder about like their wing, and I just don't feel like on paper they have enough to be like a true contender, to be a team that makes it into the playoffs in the East, sure. Right? They just need Blake Griffin to be unbelievable. And if he's already banged up a little bit, then you're counting a lot on Drummond and Reggie Jackson. What are you going to get out of Derrick Rose? I think they'll probably be. It's so hard to predict with this team when we already have seen that Griffin's going to be out for a little bit. The Golden State Warriors, they definitely have some holes, and they're not a deep, big team, and they're going to just need a lot out of Curry. And defense on the perimeter is where I'm worried about them also. Now you have D'Angelo and Steph Curry in the backcourt, D'Angelo Russell. You have Draymond Green, who now is going to have to be kind of guarding people a little bit more because you don't have Durant around and you don't have Clay around. And remember, Durant and Clay were guarding the other team's best players a lot of the time, and then Draymond could kind of float and help out. And now Draymond's going to have to take those assignments, and it's just going to overall hurt their defense overall quite a bit. They'll be fun some nights, and D'Angelo and Curry will have some nights where they're both going off, or like one of them just goes crazy and they'll carry them and beat teams. And I think they'll be over 500. I would not be shocked if this team misses the playoffs, especially if Clay, the word is that Clay's not coming back. And I don't know why they would push him to come back unless they're, in line, like unless they have a great season or they're having a great, but even then it's like, I don't know if you push him to come back. They're going to need some from Looney, from Willie Cauley-Stein, from Chris. The Rockets are another team that I'd also go under on. I think they'll probably be like a 3, maybe like, I wouldn't be shocked if they're a 5-8 seed, kind of like Denver. Harden's going to be good. He's, you're going to win games because of him. But with Westbrook, I just don't know what this mesh is going to be like. And I feel like there are going to be a couple times throughout the season where things don't go well. Westbrook is not a good shooter. I have not liked what I've seen from Clint Capella the last couple years. He does not seem to be moving forward. Tucker has to play a ton of minutes, and he's really, really versatile. He's like one of the most important players on their team. I don't think this is a very deep team. I don't really love their bench a whole heck of a lot. There's a weird vibe with Mike D'Antoni there. With like a lot of his coaches got fired, and he might be on the hot seat. He's kind of even mentioned it and joked around about it a little bit. Their win total was like 53 and a half, 54. And I would go slightly under with them. Really would. The Pacers, they're another team that's really tough because what about Oladipo? When's he coming back? How long is he going to be out? I like the addition of Brogdon. I like the addition of Warren. They locked down Sabonis. They added Lamb. But those additions are good role players, good pieces. They still don't have a star right now, and they need to be carried by either Turner or Sabonis. I don't know if Brogdon has it in him to carry a team like offensively, and he's more of like a playmaker, Swiss Army knife type who's good on defense and can do a little bit of everything. Can they stay afloat and hang around until Oladipo gets back? They should be able to. They played well without Oladipo, even last year. But no Bogdanovich. I think that might hurt them just from like an overall playmaking standpoint. Their total is actually 46.5. I mean, I'd go slightly under on that. I still think they're a playoff team in the, as I mentioned over and over again, the weak East. So we talked Clippers and Lakers already. The Grizzlies are a fun young team, but they look like they're just so young. And this is a team that will probably have Iguodala as a buyout candidate, who you imagine will probably go to the Lakers or the Clippers, one of those two. But it's going to be Ja Morant, Jackson Jr. And, I mean, if those two can play to their tip top, this will be a fun team to watch moving forward. I mean, they're so far away, though, and they're going to be one of the teams in the West that you just feel like will probably be getting beat up on because they're so young. I mean, they don't have a whole lot. Valanciunas, Brooks, Anderson, and Crowder. Clark is another one I like. I like Melton, from SC. Clark is another really good defender. He had a great summer league. Really good tournament in college last year down the stretch. Young team. Pretty far away. The Miami Heat are really well coached. But when your number one is Jimmy Butler, how far can he take you? With Butler, they have Adebayo, Winslow, Dragic, Olynyk. Lots of good buzz about the rookie, Tyler Herro. Can shoot the lights out. A little bigger than you would think, too. A little more athletic, too. They're at 44 and a half. That's right on. That is right on. They're like a 5 through 8 playoff team who, if things broke right for them, maybe a top 4 playoff team in the East. The Bucks are going to be battling it out, I think, with Philly for the top 2 spots in the East. They just really look like they have the best 2 rosters in what has become really imbalanced between the East and the Western conferences. Giannis, Middleton, Bledsoe, Brook Lopez. So a lot of what they had last year that helped them make that Eastern Conference Finals run where they lost to the eventual winner, the Toronto Raptors. And then they add Wes Matthews and they add Robin Lopez. They did lose Brogdon. So very similar on a roster to last year. It'll be about Giannis continuing his ascent and, how does he take a neck? Does he have a chip on his shoulder? Does he continue? He's so young and he's so good. Can he improve his game a little bit and improve that jumper, improve the free throw shooting? That hurt him a little bit in the playoffs last year. Top 2 team in the East, and they'll be really tough as long as the Greek Freak is healthy. The Timberwolves, I'm not a big fan of Karl Anthony Towns. And I'm definitely not a big fan of Wiggins. And when those are your 2 centralized figures on the squad, I just think that these are the wrong 2 to try to build your team around. I haven't seen enough from Towns in games that matter as far as playing defense. I think he kind of hangs out a little bit too much on the perimeter. The Wolves, I'm worried about a little bit. Their over-under is 35.5. Their actual projected wins is on a couple sites. There's I'm seeing 36, 40, and then I see a 48, which that just feels really high. Covington, Teague, Culver, Okogie, those are some positive. I've just never been a Teague fan either. Yeah, not a huge Minnesota. Yeah, or like their chances as far as getting into the playoffs. Talked about the Pelicans earlier. What a hodgepodge of a roster that the Knicks put together. They missed out on the big free agents. Didn't get Kyrie. Didn't get Durant. And they signed just a bunch of power forwards. I love Julius Randle, and he's going to have a great year for them. He's going to score a lot of points. He's going to be a great fantasy player. He might be an all-star in the East. And so they added Randle, Morris, Payton, Bobby Portis, Bullock, Taj Gibson. And when you put them with Barrett, Smith, Mitchell Robinson, Knox, and Frankie Ntilikina, Frankie Smokes, it's just a weird group. I feel like what I like what the Knicks did, though, they didn't lock anybody up long term, all short deals. It's just weird because are they going to stunt the growth of some of these young players? I feel like a lot of these players, like a team could use a Julius Randle, a team could use a Morris, a team could probably use a Payton. Like Lakers could use a Payton probably to help them right now as a backup guard. OKC, what's going to happen with OKC and Chris Paul will be like the big theme of this year. Is Chris Paul going to be around, or are they going to be getting rid of him? Gallinari, they add Shai Gilgeous-Alexander with Steven Adams and Roberson, Schroeder. I mean, you look at this team and how quickly things changed for them. They felt like they were like ride or die with Russell Westbrook and Paul George for a while, and then all of a sudden Paul George gets talked into demanding a trade, and then all of a sudden you trade Westbrook, and within like a week you lost your franchise players. Yeah. And then you get Chris Paul, who maybe he can at least help kind of mentor Shea, who a lot of people are high on. I'm not quite as high on Shea as many were. But I do think this will be a good year for Adams, a good year for Gallinari, some fantasy, as far as fantasy stuff is concerned. And I don't think they're going to be completely like a doormat. And as Chris Paul's healthy, they're going to be competitive in games. Like, this is not a bad roster. They're just, if Chris Paul is your number one, how long can you count on him carrying your team? There's inevitably going to be a spurt where he's probably injured for like 20 games, and that's probably when they're going to be in some trouble. The Magic have a pretty similar roster from last year. A couple additions. They're taking a shot on Fultz, who, you know what? That's a smart way and a smart player to take a chance on, because some like places like Orlando, maybe you're not going to get a big free agent to come sign with you, but if you take a shot on someone like that who is thought of as damaged goods and he's able to bounce back, it's kind of like the Moneyball approach, right? Adaminu, Isaac, they need to take another step, and it's a lot about Vucevic and Gordon. In the East, this is a playoff team. They're a 500 team, and they're probably a 5 through 8 playoff team. Philly looks like they're going to be one of the best teams in the league. They might be a trade or like a piece away. I'm not sure how all their pieces are going to fit, but just from a starting five where it's Embiid, Simmons, Tobias Harris, Richardson, and Horford, that is an excellent starting five. They have a lot of versatility there with Horford. When Embiid's out of the game even, that'll help them quite a bit, and they'll have the opportunity, I think, to kind of just throw different lineups at you. I'm not sure if they have quite enough shooting. There's a lot of buzz about Thibault, who's supposed to be an excellent defender, Pac-12 guy, real like lockdown type D. So they're going to be a very, very good team in the East. They're going to beat up on teams that are not quite as good. In a series, though, do they feel like they're like a shooter away? They might be. They might be like a J.J. Redick away, who left those. Could be a key piece losing for them. I think the Suns are going to be better this year than people are projecting. Their over-under was like 28.5. Their projected rotation wins I saw on two different places. Their projected wins on two different places were over 40. If you like Booker, this is a no excuses year for him. I don't think they're a playoff team, but they should be closer to 500 than they should be to their over-under of 28.5. Because they have Booker, they have Ayton now, right? So they're two young franchise cornerstones. And then you add to them a point guard and Ricky Rubio, who can help get Booker the ball. You have Saric, Oubre Jr., who's good. Bridges, Baines is a very good defender. Kaminsky also, I think, just helps a little bit off the bench, another body. This is not a hopeless Phoenix team. That's what makes the West pretty tough, is that, you have teams like this Phoenix, who's probably one of the bottom West teams, Minnesota, who's projected to be a bottom West team. Those teams can beat anybody on any given night. They're not consistent enough to win throughout, but they can beat you. They have enough talent to beat you. Portland, I'm a little worried about Portland because I love Nurkic so much. I think he's such a big key to their success, and he's going to be out for a while, and I don't know if Whiteside filling in will help. Love Lillard. He's probably my favorite non-Laker player currently. McCollum had an excellent playoff run, and then Hood was really good. Collins, Bazemore. I hope Whiteside doesn't get in the way of Collins, who's good. They feel like they might be a team that kind of takes a little bit of a step back this year. They were in the Western Conference Finals last year, remember, and then Dame got hurt. I think right towards the bottom, and maybe a surprise team that doesn't make the playoffs, but if I had to, I'd always bet on Dame getting them in there. So I'm thinking like 7 or 8 seed. Sacramento Kings they'll be trying. And Luke Walton's up there now with the Kings. Fox might be a franchise player. I love Bogdanovich. And they have a couple nice veterans now too. They just paid Buddy Hield. You have Barnes up there. You throw Dwayne Dedmon, Ariza, and Joseph as pieces. Those are pieces on a team that you need. We'll see how much Ariza has left in the tank. I think they might be like right under 500 and really a team that's like a tough play each and every night. Their totals are like 37.5. Their projections are pretty close to that, maybe a little over. The Spurs. When is this team just going to like have a year where they're not a playoff team and they're just not good or competent, right? It's all about the coaching, the system, the organization. Ironically, the organization that Kawhi left, right? But they still do things well. And when you're led by DeMar and Aldridge, are you going to have enough shooting? They get Murray back, who should help them quite a bit. I know they're very high on White. Rudy Gay has been just a huge surprise and like rejuvenated for the Spurs. They just always seem to be there, right? And you feel like they're probably right in that 5, maybe 6, 7 range or so. I don't think they're as good as the top teams, but they're just like a team you shake your head on. They're one who, if you told me they had a losing record, though, and won 35 games this year, it wouldn't surprise me because I just don't know how good that roster is. But it's just such a well-run organization that they always just overachieve. The Raptors, talked about them in the opener, actually in the beginning of the preview in their Game 1 win against the Pelicans. The Utah Jazz have an opportunity to be one of the best teams in the league. They made some really, really good offseason acquisitions. They brought in Connolly and Bogdanovich. That is going to really help them. Bogdanovich gives them another scorer there. Connolly gives them someone to run the show and help get Mitchell in good spots. You know you have a good defense when you have Gobert in there right off the bat. This should be a very good regular season team. Add Joe Ingles into the mix. I still think their bench needs a little help, but I'm thinking they're a top 4 team in the West. Their over-unders are like 53.5. Their projection wins are like pretty close to that. I have 51, 52, and then a 55. I think they're going to be mid-50s to close to 60 win team. I think they're very well built. Now, to me, they look like a team that's a really good regular season team, and we still have questions about them in a playoff series. Because I think you add Connolly and Bogdanovich, now that does help you offensively. I'm not sure how much defensively that helps. And now does Gobert have to pick up a little more slack? Final team, the Washington Wizards. This poor team will battle, I think, for the bottom. They do have Bradley Beal, which gives them like a legitimate all-star and a legitimate play, like all NBA type talent. But they're starting 5 of Ish Smith, Bradley Beal, Isaac Bonga, who the Lakers waived, and I like Bonga, but I'm really surprised he's starting in the NBA at this point in his career. Rui Hachimura, the rookie, and Thomas Bryant, who is another former Lakers G Leaguer. So they have 2 players starting who started on the Lakers, who were Lakers G League players, and then in the last like 3 or 4 years. Can Isaiah Thomas help them out at all? Are they going to be able to offload the John Wall contract at some point? This team is going to be a struggle. They're going to be tough to watch this year. I think they're going to be pretty bad, even in a week. What's good for some of these bad teams in the East is that, once you get past the Sixers and the Bucks, there aren't a lot of other good teams in the East, so at least they're not going to be facing world beaters each and every night. So pumped for the NBA. And the Lakers. Going to be a great season. I hope... Here's what I hope for all of our team's rooting interest, right? And it's inevitable. Like, every team gets banged up. Every team has injuries. It's like, can we just get these good teams to be as healthy as possible come playoff time? That's all I want. I hate when we watch playoff series that are obviously determined by injuries and by key players not being around. So let's hope... even if they have to do a little load management throughout the year, that come playoff time, we get some fun series where we get to see, LeBron and AD and Kawhi and Paul George and a healthy Utah team and, the Blazers with Nurkic and Lillard like firing all cylinders. How fun would it be if the Warriors had a good season and Clay was able to come back and make, that team a legitimate contender? The most wide open NBA season we've had in quite a while, right? Because it was all Warriors, The last 5 years, we knew they were like an overwhelming favorite. Prior to that, it was, like LeBron and his Heat teams. We generally would have a Spurs team that was always going to be right there as one of your top favorites. The Lakers teams before that. This is not the case this year. There are, I think, when you look in the West, I think in the East, I can just say right now, unless there are trades, that I think there would be only two teams that I can genuinely see coming out of the East in Milwaukee or Philly. But then when you look in the West, I think it could be the Clippers. I think it could be the Lakers. I think it could be the Jazz. I don't like the Nuggets, but it wouldn't shock me. I don't like the Rockets, but it wouldn't shock me. I don't like the Warriors as much this year, but it wouldn't shock me. I don't like the Blazers as much, but it wouldn't shock me. I mean, so there are 6-7 teams that you can say in the West that, based on how things go for them throughout the year, they can come out of the West. That's what makes this NBA season the most fun that I can remember. And keep in mind that my last few years I've been rooting for the poor Lakies who struggled. Okay, spoiler alert, warning. If you've not seen the movie El Camino on Netflix, you probably want to skip this segment, and if you're looking for the horse racing stuff, you can just fast forward a little bit to the end, because then we'll talk a couple of the Thursday plays. But we're going to go over El Camino. I'm a big Breaking Bad fan, Better Call Saul, basically everything that Vince Gilligan has created. And El Camino was kind of a secret. We didn't hear much about it or the filming of it. Nobody was talking about it. We didn't know it was being made up until just, I think, a couple months ago when a trailer came out, and then we saw another. I think there were a few tweets first, and then a trailer. And so what this is a movie that picks up immediately following Jesse Pinkman, the Aaron Paul character, like seconds after we saw him at the end of the Breaking Bad finale, right afterwards. And we see him when he's speeding away in the car, when he's, crying, and he's tortured, and he's dirty, and he's filthy, and he's got his beard and everything. And remember, that's the last moment we see Jesse. And that's the end of, that's the end of Breaking Bad. But what's great about this movie is it feels like another episode of Breaking Bad. To me, it feels like we just got another extension. And I heard some negatives out there. Let me say this. This was not bad in any way, shape, or form. The one knock I've heard on this movie is that it wasn't necessary. I think a lot of people wondered what happened to Jesse afterwards. We could assume that he got away, but this helped, I guess, clear it. He got away, right? Jesse was able to start over. And something that we find in the first opening scene of this movie, it's actually a flashback. It's a scene with Mike. So that another thing that's cool is we get to see flashback scenes with some of our favorite characters from Breaking Bad. We'll see a scene with Mike. We see, Pete and Skinny Pete and Badger, and then at the end we get to see a flashback scene with Heisenberg, Walter White. But in this opening scene, it's Mike and Jesse, and it was when they're talking. It's a flashback, and they're talking about how Jesse's gonna try to get out now, and he mentions that he wants to try to make things right. And Mike tells him, that's the one thing you can never do. You can start over, but you can't really make things right with everything that they've done. And then we pick up with Jesse right where we left him. He's driving in that car. He's in the El Camino that he stole from the neo-Nazis. He took it and run. It was Todd's El Camino. And he's on the run. And he goes to see Skinny Pete and Badger. And he is just... They don't even recognize him because he's, beaten up, scarred, hasn't shaved, long hair, filthy looking, just looks like a different person. He is suffering from PTSD. He has a tough time, you can tell, especially at the beginning, just kind of interacting with people and kind of dealing with reality again after being held in captivity for so long. So he goes to see his buddies. Once they recognize him, they let him in. They help, they clean him up. He has some food, takes a shower, and then he passes out. He wakes up, doesn't know where he is. They calm him down. They then kind of figure out a plan on how to get rid of the El Camino. They call Joe. Remember Joe with the magnets? The old man who helped them in the junkyard. So Joe comes and helps him. He's going to help him get rid of this El Camino. And then immediately as he's about ready to take it away, the police turn the LoJack on. So then Joe gets nervous. He runs away. And Skinny Pete just steps up and takes charge. He sets up a plan where they give Jesse some money. Skinny Pete sets up this great plan where he's like, hey, Badger, you take my car, take it down to the border by Mexico, hide it, leave it there, and then come back. I'll tell the police when they get here that Jesse came by and hung out, and we just traded cars. Leave the El Camino here. Jesse, you take Badger's car. Skinny Pete's the man. He's got this whole thing under wraps, and they set Jesse up, and they kind of, I think, give Jesse a little bit of faith in humanity again with just their kindness. These were just buddies who were messing around, doing some drugs in high school and stuff, and they got just caught up into crazy world, top level drug kingpin stuff, and they did a lot of things they didn't want to do. So I think the three of these guys are good guys at heart, right? Jesse, Badger, and Skinny Pete. So Jesse's off now. He's in Badger's car, and their plan works. Jesse's driving away, but the cop cars are all flying by, obviously on their way over to Skinny Pete's to see the car. Because Jesse is wanted now. We keep, all throughout the movie, we hear on the news, we see, and we hear on different radio clips about how Walter White is dead. Jesse Pinkman is on the run. He is suspected of killing all of them. You see all of the neo-Nazis are dead. They talk about the automatic weapon that took everybody out. So they basically tell us what happened in that final episode of Breaking Bad, and they confirm for us that Walter is dead. And we get a flashback to when Jesse is being held in captive by Todd. And the character Todd, Jesse Plemons, who had to gain a lot of weight for other roles, is a little bigger than we remember seeing him last. And Todd is just so creepy. What makes him the creepiest, I think, of all the people in this particular movie is just how he's so kind of bipolar and just kind of like unaware of what he's doing and done. It's insane how he'll just kill someone and then, he's talking about the weather and it doesn't hit him. It doesn't affect him. So Todd needs Jesse's help when his uncle and the rest of the guys that hang out, the neo-Nazis, they're all gone for the weekend. Todd lets Jesse out of the cage where he is always being held, and he needs Jesse's help disposing of a dead body. Todd accidentally killed his maid because his maid found Todd's stash of money. So he had drug money hidden in these different books. So Jesse now is going to try to go find this money. We know Todd's dead in present day time. So Jesse needs money now. Cops are coming for him. He's got a car, but he's got not a lot. So he's going to go to Todd's and try to get this money. And he's staking out Todd's apartment because this is a crime scene now. They've come to, the police have come to this place now because Todd is turned up dead. And I'm sure they've uncovered lots of different things about Todd and his uncle and everyone. So Jesse stakes out the apartment. There are just so many little different Easter eggs and hidden nuggets and throwbacks to different things in Breaking Bad and different things maybe in Better Call Saul or just throughout this this world of Breaking Bad. And there's a moment where they talk about Lydia, a woman who was poisoned on the radio. We see that Todd killed the woman by strangling with a belt. Then, so it kind of, when Jesse and Todd have that interaction in Breaking Bad, there's another thing we put together. And Todd has a tarantula as a pet. We assume it's the tarantula from Drew Sharp, the kid that he killed after the train robbery. So while they're in the the apartment, getting ready in this flashback. They're getting ready to dispose of his maid. They've rolled her up in the carpet, and they're gonna take her down in the car and take her somewhere. And they're waiting because Todd's nosy neighbor is like outside, and he's always around. He's watering plants and stuff. So while they're waiting, Todd just is like cooking soup, just total nonchalant. He's stepping over the dead cleaning lady, like rolled up in the carpet, like while he's cooking soup and talking to Jesse, like absolutely nothing. And Jesse's just shaking. Again, the one thing we've always seen about Jesse is anytime he's been around, like I had to kill or be around, he doesn't deal with it. He's not one of these people that's liked killing and liked murdering. And he's not like Todd, who just, it doesn't even register on his scale. So Jesse ends up getting into Todd's apartment in present day time. We do go flashback a little bit back and forth in between. Early on in the movie, we do go flashback a little bit back and forth, and it's not confusing. We know when he's back in present, when he's in present day time, and he's when in the past. But it doesn't start to get flowing, I think, for a little while. And Jesse actually sees his parents on TV, and they're asking him to come forward. And we get a good idea of some of the moments that we never really saw Jesse towards the end of Breaking Bad. We just know that he was captured in there, and we kind of saw a few times, and he's having to cook meth and this and that. But we never, and we assumed how bad it was, but we do get to see really, really how bad it was. And in this little excursion with Todd, where they're out in the desert, and there's a moment where Jesse actually has Todd's gun and he has the opportunity to kill him. But Jesse's just so shaken, he can't even do it. He ends up just giving the gun back to Todd, and Todd talks to him about pepperoni pizza. Jesse starts crying, and then it's like nothing for Todd. He's driving back, he's smiling. He's a sick son of a bitch. He is. And poor Jesse is just broken. He is broken. But now Jesse's back in present day time, and he's looking for the money in Todd's apartment. He's tearing the money out because he remembers in his flashback, Todd told him, Todd showed him where he hid his money and said, I'm going to have to change the hiding spot now. And he said, it's always going to be close to me though, because Uncle Jack always said, like, that's the thing about Todd. He never even realizes that he's like letting Jesse in on all these secrets because he thinks he's just going to have him there forever, kidnapped, tortured. He doesn't think it's ever going to be something that Jesse could possibly benefit from. And so as soon as Jesse is able to figure out that the money is like hidden inside, like in the middle of the fridge, he sees someone right outside of the apartment. It's two cops. They're looking around. Jesse's hiding. One of the cops come into the room, and the only thing Jesse can do is point the gun at his head and basically tell him, be quiet. Act like everything's good. Call your partner in over here. The problem is, these guys aren't cops. And Jesse takes him a few minutes to realize it. So the partner comes in, and then right away, it's not the partner. It's this guy, Neil. And these two fake cops just threw some jackets on that they bought at the store. And they're doing the same thing Jesse's doing. They're trying to find the money in Todd's apartment. So none of them can be like loud, shoot each other, do anything, because if anyone outside hears, their cover's blown. So they got to try to be quiet in there, and one of the two goes outside to kind of distract the neighbor, who knocks on the door and basically saves Jesse. And while Jesse's in with this guy, Neil, he says, hey, I know where the money is. You'll never find it. And Jesse takes a cut. Basically, they say they're going to split it three ways. And as Jesse leaves, he recognizes this guy, Neil, who was a welder. The welder for the neo-Nazis. We never have seen him before. We've not seen him in Breaking Bad, but they have a flashback scene to where we see him with Jesse, with the neo-Nazis all together. He created this disgusting, like, dog collar that they had put around Jesse's neck, and where he was chained to the ceiling, basically, and all these different bars coming out. So he had like a clothesline that he could run on while he was cooking the meth for them. I mean, this was disturbing, and Jesse kind of finally recognizes him, and then he goes on his way. Jesse goes to see Ed, Robert Forster, who actually just passed away the day this movie came out, which is unfortunate. Great actor. He was only in, I think, one episode of Breaking Bad at the end, and he's in this too, and he plays the disappearer, the man who can give you a completely new life for $125,000, new identity, new everything, set you all up. What's great too about this is that it follows in the Breaking Bad, in that like every time it feels like, oh, okay, this is about to be taken care of. Easy. Jesse's going to get this taken care of. Walter's going to get this taken care of. There's a twist, and they don't seem like too crazy far-fetched. They're all, oh, what just happened? Oh, another turn. And it's same. We don't know how much money Jesse has, but he walks into the place with the disappearer. Robert, remember the vacuum store. And this feels like the first time we get like old Jesse Pinkman, where he can't remember, I owe a Mac Super Deluxe. Mac, come on, yo, bitch. Come on, yo, bitch. I'm 96% sure it's you. It's that van color. Yo, he's talking like Jesse. And Ed, after a while, agrees, but he says that Jesse owes him. Because remember, he came to pick Jesse up before Jesse didn't go with him. So he says, you owe me for the first one too. So Jesse gets out all of his money, and he's $1,800 short. And Ed will not do it for anything but the full price. So Ed, who is just done, there's no deal. Jesse keeps bothering him. Ed picks up the phone. He calls the cops. Jesse thinks he's bluffing, and then 2 seconds later, the cops show up. So Jesse goes back. He waits for the cops to leave. He calls Ed on the phone, and he says, if I can get the rest of the money, will you help me? They make a deal. So Jesse goes looking for money. He's $1,800 short. We think he's going to look for money. Actually, he goes to his parents' house. He calls his parents. He asks them if they'll come meet him. He wants to turn himself in. He was just kind of setting him up. He wanted to get his parents out of the house so he could go, we thought, take some money from them. In fact, he went to go get a gun. They had 2 guns in their safe, so he takes them both. And he goes over and he finds the welder, and he figures, okay, maybe he can get the rest of the money from the welder. He's got a couple guns. Maybe he can do something. So this is when we get that flashback of the welder creating the collar chain, like a crazy, that clothesline, and we show how Jesse was really treated, and what a bad piece of crap this guy is, right? Like, he sees them kidnapping this human and like creating a chain and like a literally like human leash for him, and he's just obviously a horrible person, this Neil. And he's a bad guy, but he's not like a scary bad guy in the sense of like Gus Fring or the neo-Nazis or any of like or a lot of the Tuco, Salamanca, some of the earlier bad guys. He's kind of a dumb criminal. So Jesse's at this welding yard while a bunch of these guys are having a party. They just came up on a bunch of money, so they're having fun. They have a Coke, and they have a bunch of girls that they're paid for partying with them. And Jesse just walks right in after the girls leave, and it's just a couple of them. And these guys are pretty messed up now. They've been drinking and doing drugs all night. And he basically just tells, he shows that he's got his gun right on his in his belt loop. And he tells him, "Hey, I need $1,800. That's it." And Neil basically says, let's have a duel. A wild, wild west duel. They laugh at Jesse's gun. So Jesse does the smart thing. He's got a small old gun in his waist belt that you could see. And then in his other pocket, he's got the better gun. He's got the small little power packing gun that nobody can notice that he's got in his pocket. So when Neil offers a duel, Jesse agrees. These guys literally just face each other and stand there, and everyone in the room there's 3 or 4 other guys in the room. They're like, what the hell is going on? And sure enough, right before Neil's about to pop Jesse gets him, shoots him, kills him, turn around, kills the other guy who was a cop. So both the fake cops are now done. The other 3 guys are in the room. Jesse takes their driver's license and tells them, "Hey, I know who you are. I'll come for you if you ever tell the cops anything about me." So it's funny in the scene with Ed, the disappearer, we get the old school Jesse, yo, bitch, yo. And then in this one, we get the real hard Jesse. And we can see like the different layers of Jesse through all the crap that he's been through. So Jesse blows him away. He gets the money, and then he burns the entire place down. And then as we get towards the end, we get the great flashback of Walter White and Jesse. And they're eating together, and this is like really early on. I think season 2 of Breaking Bad, where they're kind of taking a flashback to. They're sitting down at a table eating. Jesse's got a big stack in his pocket, and he's loving it, and he's the man. And this is not long after they had started cooking, and they've got a ton of product, but they're not sure how to sell it all. So Jesse's telling Walt at this point, no matter what, he says, it's going to take 6 months to sell this. No matter what, I'll always take care of your family. I'll make sure your family gets this money. And then Walter's acting really like we see the difference. Remember, the last time we saw Walter and Jesse, they were fighting. Right, their relationship was not good at the end, even though Walter did save Jesse's life. But when we see this scene, we kind of remember how it was at the beginning. When, Walter's really acting like fatherly, talking to him about going to school, about college. Jesse said he wants to be in sports medicine, and Walter says, hey, maybe, something about business, and, you could teach that class, business. And so it's crazy to see how much these characters have changed and their character arcs, right? From the very beginning of Breaking Bad to the middle to the end, and Jesse even throughout this movie. And then Walt, in a line to Jesse, says, I'm jealous of you, Jesse, because you don't have to wait your whole life to do something special. Walt didn't really feel fulfilled until he started cooking the meth, and we get to see a flashback of the cool Winnebago one more time out there. We see Jesse, he's all set up in Alaska. Ed, the disappearer, helped him, got him set up there. Jesse says, with a brand new identity and everything, Jesse says goodbye to him, and he gives him a letter to give to Brock, the kid that he loved, whose mom Todd killed. And Jesse drives away. He's free. He's in Alaska with money. He's got a new life. It's the end of Breaking Bad when we see Jesse driving away, and he's crying, and he's got all the hair and now he's actually free. He's able to, as they say, he can't fix it and start over, but he's able to, or he can't make things right, but he can kind of start over. And he's driving away to a new life. There are, I saw a lot of people that were talking about Aaron Paul is obviously a lot older now than he was when he started this, and Todd has gained some weight, and this was entertaining. I liked it. It didn't ruin Breaking Bad for me. I thought to me, it's cool. It's another chapter in the story. It's done by the same people. It's done very well. It feels very Breaking Bad. It's just there wasn't a lot throughout the movie that really had to happen. It was just the story of Jesse being able to be free. It was, and there were twists and turns along that road, but that was really all it was Jesse trying to get free. There wasn't a ton of different, it wasn't, in Breaking Bad, we're going up and down with every little thing and that's happening. And we never knew what was going to happen when we sat down in episode 1 of Breaking Bad, and then what happened at the end of the series. When we sit down, we know that, okay, this is Jesse's story, and Jesse's trying to get out of town and to be able to kind of start a new life. I liked it a lot. I think if you like Breaking Bad, if you're into Better Call Saul, give it a watch. It's not going to ruin anything for you. It puts a nice bow on Jesse's story, because he was a major character in that show also, right? And we got to see a nice ending, and not nice in that he died, but we got to see a conclusive ending for Walt. We never saw that for Jesse. We had to assume. Now we know. Okay. El Camino. Check it out on Netflix. It'll make you want to go back and watch Breaking Bad again too, and then probably Better Call Saul. You'll get all in that mode. Close things out with a couple horse racing plays. Just a couple from Keeneland. Before we get over to Keeneland, we want to let you know about one of the sponsors of our show, Cindy Carava. Full service realtor, Cindy Carava. Check out cindycarava.com for all of your real estate needs. If you need help with buying, selling, leasing, if you're looking to improve your home, maybe you need help with some vendors, you're looking for gardeners, landscapers, painters, maybe you need help with lenders or some help with a loan, pre-approval, she can connect you. I can promise you, she's one of the nicest and most genuine people you will ever meet. Very trustworthy. I've known her for over a decade. We're going to talk some horse racing right now. Her husband is Jack Carava, trainer here on the Southern California circuit, who's been training for over 30 years down here and a mainstay on the circuit. Awesome lady, Cindy Carava, and she will take great care of you. I mean, even if you just are interested in finding out how much your home is worth, like the actual value, shoot her an email, cindyc.realtor@gmail.com. She'll take great care of you, cindycarava.com for all of your real estate needs. October 24th, and with Breeders' Cup coming up, I'm already with the pre-entries are out right today. Right now, I just had printed them out, so I'm going to start digging in. So I'll just have a couple plays here on the next episode of That's What She Said on Friday that we post. We'll just have probably one or two plays for the weekend. We're going to play small because next weekend is going to be a big weekend. With the Breeders' Cup, generally, you're going to get more opportunities for value. They're going to be bigger pools, so it just makes sense to invest a little bit more of your money because you'll get a better return on your investment. So, couple plays. Let's try to get these to build the bankroll for the Breeders' Cup. Get your past performances out for Keeneland, October the 24th. And let's go to race number 7. There are 2 horses I like in this race, and so we'll use them both. Use them both depending on how you're playing the exotics. I like the 4 Blue Ridge Traveler the most, but I will include the 2 Dak Attack in the exotics, and if Dak Attack is a much better price, then maybe we end up using Dak Attack. But I like Blue Ridge Traveler. If you just go through his career, he's a 5-year-old now. Overall, he's been very consistent, and he's just had some physical issues to where he's got a really long layoff right in the middle, and he's missed a little bit of time. He didn't race from April of 2018 to August of 2019. So now he's getting really back into fitness, back into, his racing level. And his 3 starts since coming back have not been bad. He was a winner last time out against optional non-2s, and then he took a shot against grade 3 company. And he was inside, he was fifth, he was 5 off, he moved up along the inside, he was in between horses, he was in a tight spot, he had to wait, then he had to angle around, he was up to 3rd, he was within a couple lengths before tiring. He lost a photo for 3rd. I thought it was a pretty good effort against a better group, going a mile and an eighth. I think he fits really, really well in here. And to me, he looks like the horse to beat. And if you're getting anything close to this price, like if he's anywhere over 3-1, I think he should be a really nice win wager. I would not be shocked if he gets hit hard, though. Just looks like he's going to fit really nicely in here. He's run really well going a mile and a 16th, and I just expect him to be sitting in a good spot. I like the fact that he's shown a little bit of speed. He's not fast. I'm not going to in any way say he's fast, but he has a little bit more tactical speed than you think. He doesn't have to be too far out of it. So Blue Ridge Traveler. And the reason why that hopeful tactical speed should come in handy is because on paper, Dak Attack could be cruising early. I mean, I think if anybody has the opportunity to take this race gate to wire, it's Dak Attack, who's coming out of a couple sprint races. He was behind finding last time out. He might be the speed of the speed in here. I think if they want to go with him, he could get the lead. And if a horse like Major Cabby isn't set hard, Dak Attack could be cruising. Probably get a little pace from No Dozing to the outside. So let's go Blue Ridge Traveler, the 4, over the 2, Dak Attack. Depending on how you're playing the race, I will, if one or the other is a better price, I'll play that one to win. I will use these 2 though in all of the exotics. So if you're playing anything late, I think these are the 2 to use. And I'll put these 2 over in, exactas, tries, however you approach those, and vice versa. But to me, Blue Ridge Traveler and Dak Attack. And then we'll close things out in the 8th race. Obviously, Daddy's a Legend is going to take a ton of money in here, right? I would not tell you to play against Daddy is a Legend in exactas, tries, supers. As far as like a win wager is concerned, and this is why I don't want to play a late pick 4 or late pick 5 at Keeneland on Thursday, because Daddy's a Legend very well could win. I wouldn't really want to use her in that case and have a pick 5, or I wouldn't really want to play against her in that case and have a pick 4 or a pick 5 alive and chuck Daddy as a Legend out. But just from a pure value standpoint on the race, I don't think this is going to be her best. And I like Smart Emma at a price. So this is a race where I'd just prefer playing Smart Emma to win, maybe Smart Emma over in some exotics, and definitely Smart Emma with Daddy as a Legend. Because if Daddy is a Legend does win this race, we want to at least try to get some of the value with a mare like Smart Emma, who I think should offer some value in here. She broke right on top last time out. She took back to 4th. She was 2-3 lengths off. She got forced 5 wide, and that was at Kentucky Downs. And you know what? That track played really weird this particular meet. It was real conducive to horses who were like right up on the lead for a few days. And anytime I see a horse who just kind of doesn't go on at that racetrack over that turf course, I never really hold it against them. I give them an opportunity to kind of bounce back to a top level. And if you take Daddy as a Legend out of this race from a win standpoint, Smart Emma would be like your next choice right there in the mix for your next most logical winner, probably with Lamari. So I think because Daddy's a Legend is in here, you're going to get obviously a better price on Smart Emma. Let's play Smart Emma in here to win. Smart Emma. I think if you can get like anything over 6, 8-1, 6 would be the limit for me. I'd like right around 8, and hook up in some of the exotics with Daddy's a Legend, as long as they're not ABs, right? What I mean by AB is like, if Smart Emma gets bet down and Daddy's a Legend and they're just your first and second choice, it's not generally smart to just play the top 2 betting choices in an exacta. It generally just doesn't pay that well, right? Sometimes we get worried about, we want to pick the winner, or we want to, pick winners, but we got to remember, it's about picking winners, betting winners, but it's about like actually making a nice return on your investment. If you're just chalking it up all the time, probably not the best way to go, because you have to win so many more times for every one of those losses, right? It's just not quite worth your money. So just the 2 plays at Keeneland in the 7th race. Monitor the odds in this one, and then in the 4 and the 2. Let's hook those 2 up in all the exotics, Dak Attack and Blue Ridge Traveler. I like Blue Ridge Traveler a little bit more, especially if you're going to get the better price on that one. And then Smart Emma. Keep an eye on the price on Smart Emma, but let's make a nice win wager on Smart Emma in the 8th at Keeneland. So just 2 for you there. And remember, Stable Duel. Go right now and download that Stable Duel app when the entries all come out and the Stable Duel contest is actually ready and open. I will have a segment on the show where I go through what it is to build a lineup. If you've ever played like DraftKings or FanDuel or any of the daily fantasy, it's the same type of thing, but it's for horse racing. You build your lineup based on a salary cap. So you're selecting horses, and if they're like a heavy favorite, they're going to be more expensive. And if they're a long shot, they're going to be less expensive, and you get points based on how they finish all the way through. So free to enter. I mean, if you're listening and you're going to be playing the races on the Breeders' Cup, a lot of us horse racing fans are. Even if you're someone who's, I don't have a ton of money. I wish I could play more on Breeders' Cup days, but I don't have a ton. This is perfect. It's a free contest, and it's a ton of fun, and you don't have to be like You can get lucky in this. You can be an expert and win. You can be a novice and win. It's just a lot of fun, and I'll help you out in any way, shape, or form with the Stable Duel stuff. So just let me know if you need. Like always, anytime if you get a chance and you're on iTunes, you can go and leave a nice 5-star rating and review. Don't forget to subscribe to us on YouTube, SoundCloud, Google Pods, anywhere you get your podcast. Make sure to check out That's What G Said. Thanks again, everyone. Hope you have a nice end of your week, and we'll have another episode back in just a few days where we give you the football, college football plays. We'll recap last week, and we'll give you a couple of weekend horse racing. And then next week, we'll have a massive Breeders' Cup show where we go over every single horse in every single race on Friday and Saturday for the Breeders' Cup. Thanks, folks. Joey, my man, take it away.
Well,